I lie awake as seasons change, wishing I could make you stay this age.
Hello and welcome back to the Winter Fanboys Podcast, where we boost the signal of the Winter Failure, the band that makes the most original Christmas music that no one has ever heard of, and we think that is just a darn shame. I'm Ben.
I'm Adam.
And welcome back. It's good to have you. We're here on our third track of this album. We're hanging out in Happening right now, I think is the name of the track, Happening, which is not what I would have guessed based on listening to it, you know? It's another brand track, and it starts out like I mean, this doesn't starts out. It just is mellow. It's mellow the whole time through. And we've got Bran giving us a bit of like, I wouldn't quite call it a lullaby, but it feels like, you know, end of the night, you know, kind of giving us this song as he's closing the door on his sweet boys. What impressions do you have as we listen to this track?
So right off the bat, I think it's very similar things. The guitar, driving, piano, light piano over top. So instrumental wise, I think that's like a brand staple for this EP that they're doing. And then I personally like him clearing his throat. Again, that makes it sound like it's not like recorded. Like it's recorded, obviously.
When does he clear his throat? Is it the beginning?
The beginning.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like the first, yeah. And I think this song is about relationships. And I think what's so interesting is I'm in a season where I'm just like, I think nothing will be the same. I shouldn't say nothing. I just mean nothing is forever. So let's just say that. What we're doing right now and how we're living our lives, nothing is forever. And so that being said, you know, you hear the stories of them being like, the newborn scrunch is like what newborns do, but Hunter's slowly growing out of that. And it's like you want to hang on to that. And actually what I'm saying is we're going to enjoy those moments, and then he's going to do something else, and we're going to enjoy those moments. And I'm going to take it moment by moment with him. And because I do think that that's what my dad was saying to me, was like, enjoy spending time with your kids. And that being said, it's his first Christmas. Christmas next year won't be this. It will most likely be in PA or in Maryland, and it will be with different people. And then the Christmas after that will be different, and the Christmas after that will be different. And realizing that every new season and every time season changes, it's not going to be the same. I think I got into this idea that like, this is how life is. This is what happens. This is what we're doing the next day. This is what we're doing. And, you know, since my dad's passing, I realized that's not true. You know, we don't just get up and do the same. Obviously we get up and do roughly the same thing, but the reality is that life is, this moment here won't be the same as the next moment, won't be the same as the moment after that. And realizing that that's what this song Happening feels like. We're talking about little moments that keep happening, and keeping those moments and knowing that it's not keeping those moments, cherishing those moments, knowing that those moments are going to change. And that is the point. That the point is, this is not going to be the same. And, you know, it's interesting. I have thought about this, and I was like, you know, when I was a kid and I was in high school, and my dad was taking me to football practice and then to rehearsals, and then I took myself, and then I was working, and I was like, what's interesting is none of those moments were the same. Everything was, especially when you're in high school, things start going fast. And then all of a sudden you're out and you're like, you know, you went from 14 not working to 16 having to get a job to 18 going into college to then being busted out and having to then figure out how to live life. And it's like, it goes really fast. You know, I feel like the first 10 years of your life feels slow, and then it's like all of a sudden you're shot out of a cannon the last 10. And, you know, like I'm sitting here thinking like Hunter has a niece and a nephew. Who is 14 and 11. And I said, in 10 years, Hunter will be 10. Or in 14 years, Hunter will be 14, the same as his niece, and she'll be 28. And I said, yeah, that's insane. That's like mind boggling. And I'm like, wasn't I just 28? Wait, what? where are we? And I'm like, I wasn't just 28. And so it's like realizing that life keeps moving and these little moments keep happening. And so I kind of gave you my whole spiel of this whole song. And I think that I feel like it's I've been listening to, I say this, I think every season, I listen to Ben Rector. Ben Rector writes about being a dad, and I resonate with things that are about being a parent or being a father. And it's just like watching kids grow up. I say the first 10 years are slow, but I'm like watching the first, like where Hunter was born at 5 pounds, 7 ounces. He's now 15.5 pounds. I mean, he's 3 times his weight.
Wow.
You're like, that's insane.
That's not staying the same
and
at
he
all.
keeps, yeah. And so it's like realizing that these little things, and so I'm saying little things that happen every day are going to change. And this song is talking about how Christmas itself is going to be different. I don't necessarily know if he's talking about his kids or if this is about kids or if this is about a spouse or a partner, a loved one.
So I can speak to that
go
a
ahead.
little bit. I got to hang out with Bran this past summer, which was really cool.
Okay, nobody likes to brag, all right?
I'm bragging. I love the brag. I got to hang out with Bran and Dave at the same time, and you weren't there. But
Was
I did
this
go
in
hang out
North
with you
Carolina?
too, and that was great. So I got a nice Winter Failure Fanboys, whole coalition this year.
You must have used all of our budget for your travels.
I did. Yeah, I did use all of our budget. It's not hard to use all of our budget when our budget is $0. I think you also used all of our budget this year, too.
I did. You're right. I did.
So we've sort of both infinitely spent our budget. But Bran has 2 kids. And so you're both my favorite Christmas gift. Like, I think he's thinking about his 2 sons and just getting to see him be a dad and how much he loves his boys and the way he interacts with them. Like, it just makes so much sense. Sorry, I cut in. I didn't want to cut off your whole thought.
I want you to keep going.
I'll keep going. Yeah. I think that what I'm hearing from you and what I see with my like nieces and nephews and my brothers as they have become parents is like one of the great markers of time, I think, is children. And one of the things we experience as adults before we have kids is like once you get to a certain point and then like, yeah, life is going and like things are changing, but you don't change as dramatically, like I can look at a picture from me a year ago and it doesn't necessarily look like I've changed a ton. I'll change some, but like you're just talking about like Hunter's not even been here a whole year and he's tripled in size. If I tripled in size over the course of 5 months, like people would be like, Ben's not okay. He's exploding. And so with kids, like all of a sudden you have this great like marker of just how much things do change and how quickly they do change. Like that change really is happening. It's just that I think when we get to this like adult age, we're a little more like insulated from it, for a myriad of reasons. And so you're now entering back into like getting to see how quickly time does go. And you have a very clear marker of like, yeah, when Hunter is 11, his niece and nephew, or I'm not sure who exactly, is going to be 28. And that's wild. I think about that in regards to like, if I was to have a kid today, how old would my kid be like compared to my nieces and nephews? They're 7 and 5 and 0 and like 4. And so like that's where the spread would be. And I do some of that mental calculus sometimes thinking like, all right, if I was to get married now, and then, I waited a year to have kids, and then like, what does that look like? And what age does that put me at when they graduate high school? And all, like, I do that calculus from time to time. And I think one of the funny things about I don't know if I want to go down this route. So I don't think I'm going to. Instead, like, I love the beauty of getting to listen to dads writing Christmas music about their kids who they love so much. Like, I'm a big fan of that. I think that's great. And Bran is writing this song that's so much about like, yeah, fatherhood. And Dave also has just become a dad recently too. And I think that's really affected and changed him. It's cool to see how that has changed him. And you just became a dad. And so I think there's something really good about, this is such a basic statement, but it's cool to see men step up and be dads because I don't know, like for some reason that just feels like what is so often needed is just that like you need dads who are present. You need dads who are involved in the lives of their kids, and you need dads who make it so clear that they love their kids and that everything's going to be all right. We're going to move into nativity here in a second. And one of the things I've been thinking about this year in regards to like faith, in regards to like God and what it looks like to mature as a person of faith is like, as far as I can tell, you kind of have two main options for how you want your life to go. Like you either have an option where it's like, I want to try to live forever. Or I want to try to live as long as like kind of keep things static in a certain way. Like I want to use the treatments that keep me looking young. Like I want to do all the things that I want to upload my consciousness to the cloud, whatever it is, like blah, 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 sci-fi shenanigans. But I want to stay here as long as I possibly can. And I want that life to be as good as it possibly can while I'm here. Then there's this other side of it that I find myself more and more curious about and scared of and drawn to, which is like, what does it look like to live your life in such a way that when your time comes, you're ready to go? You're like ready to die. Maybe maturity is like living in such a way that you grow to the point where you are ready to let go when the time comes. And I find myself scared of and drawn towards that. And I think that's really relevant to kind of what you have been talking about. And I think what we're going to kind of get into, like the courage to die well versus the trying to cling to something that you don't want to change,
Yeah.
I remember getting to talk to you during the whole process and the month leading up to your dad's death, and like getting to hang out with you in New York and then getting to be on the phone with you several times. I remember just hearing about how your dad handled it, and was just so in awe of him and the way in which he was able to still love and parent you guys, even in the midst of his body shutting down and having to look at his mortality cold in the face, and I looked at that and I was like, damn, like that's real strength. Like that's a life well lived. Like that's a man who has done it, who has walked the path. And it was really awesome to get to hear that from you and get to walk that with you.
Yeah. I used to think it was like, you have to go and do these things, you have to run and go and see the world, go and do all these big things. But there's going to come a day where you can no longer do those big things. There's going to come a day where you're going to miss because you're not going to be able to do everything. Even if you were a billionaire, they can't do everything. And there is going to come, I told my dad this. I said, having a child has changed how I view what is more important in my life and what I want to see out of my life than me trying to achieve anything I could have ever achieved. And Ben Rector writes songs about this, like What Makes a Man. He talks about his dad. In that song, he talks about his dad and how his dad never was going to be famous, and his dad gave everything he can so that way him and his sisters could have a life. And, he's kind of standing on his dad's shoulders. And it wasn't until we got pregnant that I was like, this little person is going to look at me for everything. And I have to find a way to be that for this little person, right? They need to eat. And obviously now they need you more than ever now. Yeah. And my dad was able to do that even when he's facing something that is, to me, it's like, that's terrifying. And he said it. He was like, he's always said this. He's like, it all happens. We all have to face it. We don't get to not face it. And, there is definitely talk of like, wish it wasn't so quick or so soon, I should say. Wish it wasn't happening so soon. But, in my grief share, they said, we don't get to choose when we're born, and we really don't get to choose when we die. And sitting with that and realizing that like, you could live one of the healthiest lives ever. In fact, going and staying with my dad while, he had treatment, a nurse came in and she said, it's always the healthiest patients. It's always the healthiest that have this, that are going through this process. It's never that like people are like, oh, they look sick or no, there's nothing. And it doesn't matter. It like does not matter. I've had to wrestle with this idea that life can't be about running and doing things. Life can't be about achieving certain scholar vocational things. It can't be about that because that stuff just fades. It just goes away. And I think you're right. We're getting to nativity where I think where we kind of see what life is about. And I think one of those ways is, I don't think it's the only way, I definitely don't, is having a child and having that child look at you And you realize that all of a sudden everything I don't stop dreaming. I still continue to be an actor. I still continue to do the vocation and do the work that we have to do. And sometimes I have to do it even more so because I have to feed not just myself anymore, and not just Brianna, but life all of a sudden becomes, it's almost like this. I learned how to be a dad, from my dad, but also watching my dad go through that, he showed me even more how to be a dad. He doesn't have to tell me how to be a dad. He showed me how to be a dad. He's like, this is what it is to be a dad. And that, we kind of derailed a little bit. We're like talking about being a dad, and that's not what this song is about. But I think that this song is about. You think so?
I think so. Yeah. Like, you two are my favorite Christmas gift. Like, I think a song is absolutely about being a dad. I think it's about being a dad at Christmas time. I think it's about being a dad who's reflecting on the fact that Christmas will look different, but that having his two sons has crystallized for him what it looks like what's important for him.
Yeah.
And I think that's absolutely what the song is about.
I hear you. I'd have to listen to the song differently now, a little bit differently. And I appreciate what you said. Let me just say that. I was like trying to figure out how to say it, but I appreciate what you said because I think, I'm a little biased, but I do think that my dad showed me how to be a dad, and then also how to face this thing that we're all going to face. There's no, and that's what's interesting about grieving, right? Is like, you talk to people about it, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but it's like, I will say, if you're fortunate enough, and what I mean by that is that, the other way it could happen, but most people will face grieving of some sort, whether it be a loved one or a parent you will face a time of grieving. We as a society have a really hard time talking about it. I think we do, we have a really hard time of discuss. It's funny that we have a hard time discussing it, but we'll talk about taxes. Like, you have to pay taxes every year. And it's like, well, this thing is coming, right? It will happen. And I know we don't want to be Debbie Downers, but it's like just realizing that the way to not be a Debbie Downer is to realize where what is important in life, and what is the point of life, not chasing after something, not running after something, or not trying to get to the mountaintop, to then realize, the mountaintop's really just kind of just plateaus and then goes to another mountaintop. There's always another peak to climb. There's always another thing to do. And it's like, what is that? What is the point if it's not, a lot of music that I listen to that talks about that, they're parents, right? They're a dad who's singing that, and he's talking about his kids. But I think that it can be said for, when we get to nativity as well, which I think is that life isn't about the things we achieve here. So yeah,
I think I've got a lot more thoughts, but I think I would like to talk about them in the context of nativity. I think this is a good lead in. So I think we end the episode here and then say hello to everybody and talk some more about this in the next one.
Sounds good.
I'm Adam. It happened at the same time, but it's still true. All right. You go out. Let's both go on 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm Ben.
I'm Adam.
Stay frosty, my friends.
Yeah.